What I ask most young creators to define is what is that one word USP that you're going to be known for, because there is a big clutter of creators out
True.
there. So we started in 2017, 18 roughly. COVID really changed the fortunes of this industry. We can't hire actors, we can't hire models. So how do we market ourselves? And that's when everyone doubled down on influencer marketing.
The most exciting part of working with the Gen Z creators?
They teach you how to really use your camera without seeming like an old man. I just cold emailed about 800 companies.
Wow.
I'm telling them that, hey, you know what? Influencer marketing is this cool new thing that you should invest in. I just feel that the one place where creators go wrong is that they don't find the right operator for the business.
A lot of creators are now also becoming product, or they're creating their own product. Do you see that as a trend? Viraj Sheth isn't just a co-founder of Monk Entertainment. He's one of the key minds behind shaping India's creator economy. From building one of the country's leading creator-driven companies with Ranveer Allahbadia, Akka Beer Biceps, to working with brands, talent, and platforms, he's seen the evolution of content from both sides. This conversation is for anyone who wants to understand what it really takes to be a content creator today and the business that powers it. Hi, Viraj, and thank you for coming to my show. Finally, we made it.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Darshana.
And I'm very excited to have a a Gujarati from Mumbai, same roots, of course, different generation, but who's really doing it and cracking it into the new economy, which is the creators economy, and really making it big. But I want to, as always, I'm a curious person. I want to know what really made you get where you are. So coming back to your childhood, did you always have this kind of inclination that you want to get into becoming a content writer, creator? Were you so inclined to digital?
I mean, like ever since school, I think I was very much inclined into doing like English, like languages, doing a deep dive into things like French. We had French in 6th standard. I mean, if you really want to go all the way back, until my 3rd grade, I was in an SSE board. And then I scored an outrageous amount of marks. I got like 99% in my 3rd grade.
Wow. And today they don't have exams, by the way, till 5th.
They don't have exams till 5th. Oh man, this generation is getting very light with things. But so when I scored this kind of a grade, my mom naturally thought that my kid cannot be so smart. There's definitely a problem with the school or the board. So she shifted me to a tougher board, which was a CBSE board. And I mean, I can't thank her enough for that. Because ever since that, I realized that even when I was in school, I was never really that good with math or science. I didn't enjoy physics or chemistry or, things like that.
But you've done engineering.
I've done engineering, surprisingly. I don't know how I passed through it all. But I've always been, I remember in 6th grade, we had this poetry competition. And I wrote a poetry on love, which it's just so corny and cheesy now.
French inspire you.
Yeah, no, I don't even know. It seemed like very easy. It came naturally to me at that point. And I was like, okay, maybe I can think and write a little bit. So maybe that created a spark in me of, okay, languages is what I want to deep dive into. And then gradually, as I grew older, I used to write blogs. I used to have a blog page. I used to write a lot of Facebook statuses. Back in the day when I was in school, there was no Instagram. Instagram was still a photo-only platform. There was no reels. There was no short-form content. So I would just write statuses, and like 5 people used to like it. And I didn't care. It was just my way of expressing my thoughts. Even when I did a few internships back in college, they were all content writer internships. I used to write for this website called holidify.com. It was a travel website. I was like, okay, if I can make, a few bucks here and there, why not? I can go take out my girlfriend on a date, or stuff like that, get some pocket money. So that's what I used to do back in the day.
So language and your skill, and that's what your love for writing came from, the love for languages that
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. And I felt like I could pick up languages better. I could improve my vocabulary faster generally. So I was like, okay, let's see if I have a flair for it or no.
So really doing this whole content creator was not that back in the day in your mind, because you were pursuing engineering. So where were you really planning to go? What was your dream at that time?
I was actually really clueless. The thing is, in my second semester of engineering, I got a KT and I got the lowest marks in the whole batch. I got some 5 CGPA, something like that. Most people in my batch didn't even know you could go as low as 5. So it was a bad time. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I was clearly not happy doing engineering. So I was at that point when I was at my lowest, I realized that, okay, I need to turn my life around and I just need to get more disciplined. So I started studying. I started waking up at like 5 a.m., did that whole cold shower routine, all of that kind of crap. And then I scored really well in my engineering. And I also gave my GRE. So I was like, okay, the only thing that an engineer can do basically here back in the day was if you really want value, you go to the US. And that's how you derive value out of your engineering, because US has well-paying jobs. Can't say the same about the situation now. It's really hostile. But also the college that I came out of, it like more than 70% of my batchmates are all in the US, Australia, or Canada. Very, very surprisingly, though, I was actually going through my college WhatsApp group now that this whole H1B situation happened. And I was like, let me check how many people in my college group are actually in the US. And all the numbers are starting from +1.
Wow.
So I'm like, wow, this is a huge number of people that just chose to move to the US. So
did you finally go? What was your then?
So funnily enough, I didn't. I had applied to 4 universities. My thought was, okay, if I'm going to the US and if I'm going to burn my family's money, I have to be going to a reputed university at least.
Sure. Then what happens? Really, where did the whole idea of starting a company came on? Like doing this content creation and that kind of a company.
Correct. So
not a digital, because usually people start digital agencies. Seen a lot of them.
Correct.
Doing that, but you didn't start. Did you start as a digital agency first?
No, we didn't. We started as a talent agency first. What happened is when I was in my last semester, I used to, because I was so clueless, I used to watch a lot of like content and TV shows. There was this show I watched called Entourage back in the day, and that show is about a talent agent and a Hollywood star. Okay. And I was like, okay, this is an interesting life to have. Like I'm not one to become an actor or be in front of the camera too much. So I would love to run the business end of things.
All the time.
I mean, now I am. Now it's like occupational hazard, I would like to say. But I was like, okay, I would really like to run the business behind this, because this seems like where my mind would really run. In my college, I was friends with this guy that people now know as Bear Biceps. We were in the same university together, and we'd already done some internships together.
Okay.
He was 2 years senior to me. So by the time I was in my last year of engineering, he had started a YouTube channel. So I'd called him in because I wanted to go to the US. I started a club of our own to get some certifications in place. So I started this entrepreneurship cell in my college.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, okay, I'm only doing this for a certificate, but I actually need to play the role of the chairperson of this committee and hold some activities. But I didn't have a network and I didn't know anybody who was even decently accomplished who should come in and give a talk. So then I thought that, hey, why don't I call Ranveer in, because he had a few subscribers on his YouTube channel and he was doing something offbeat. So I called him in, he gives a talk.
Back then, he was Bear Biceps. He had started that?
Yeah, he had started his YouTube channel. Yeah. He had, I think, 20 or 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. And after the talk, he came up to me and he's like, hey, what are you thinking of doing? Because I'm really looking to amp up my business, and I don't know how to do the business end of things. I know content. So I'm looking for a partner who can come in and, scale up my business. And because you're a Gujarati, I don't see a better person or a better fit for something like
It
this.
goes with Gujarati and
Yeah, it's
business,
just
right?
a stereotype that I'm okay to live with. So he's like, why don't you do this? And I had no understanding of how agencies work, by the way. I had no understanding of how brands work. So what I did is, and I'm still in my last semester of college, right? So I'm figuring everything out. I'm still filling up my applications and SOPs for the US universities. I'm trying to look for college placements, and I'm also parallelly trying to get deals over here with Ranveer. So what happened is that I just cold emailed about 800 companies,
Wow.
and I cold emailed their CEOs because I didn't know that there was a whole system where, there are agencies, there are brand managers, there are CMOs. I'm just blindly going on to LinkedIn using a few of these sales softwares and cold emailing CEOs of companies
To get Ranveer the...
Yeah, because I'm telling them that, hey, you know what,
Opportunity.
influencer marketing is this cool new thing that you should invest in. This is where the youth is spending their time. This is where the eyeballs are now. So why don't you invest your marketing budgets onto a platform like this? Nobody paid heed. But then there was this one email that I sent to the Tinder India CEO. Taru, her name was. And she connected me to her CMO. And then they were already doing some activations because Tinder was a social first company.
Correct.
They were also trying to attract the youth. So they understood the space a little bit better. So then they reached out and they were like, okay, you know what? Like, we'll do a deal with you. And for me, that moment was truly liberating because that felt like, okay, I can do something in life.
You didn't feel so useless then.
Yeah, I didn't feel useless after getting, and I was okay with rejections. Like after sending emails to about like 800 odd companies, rejections was not like surprising at all. I was okay with not getting replies. And that's what really brought the spark into me that, hey, this is an industry that is totally unorganized. And if we can organize even a bit of it, there's a big market gap and opportunity to fill in here.
Amazing.
So that's how we were like, okay, you know what? Why don't we set up a company and make this official? My pure focus is I don't want the fame. I want to build a solid, robust business. And that's how I said, okay, I started agenting Ranveer. And then I was like, okay, I can just replicate this model with like 100 more people, and bring them business because creators didn't know how to negotiate with brands or, what kind of terms to set.
Right.
And brands were still operating via their PR agencies or media buying agencies who didn't deeply consume content and influencers, so they didn't understand how to work with an influencer or what kind of influencer to work with. What used to happen back in the day is a lot of these automobile brands used to work with beauty influencers because their PR agencies just wanted to make a better cut out of the deal because beauty influencers would be relatively less expensive than an automobile influencer.
Okay.
But then they would get no conversions, no top of mind awareness, nothing. So, I mean, I realized that that's a gap we needed to
That's
solve.
interesting because when I remember as a marketeer now, I'm 27 years. So initially for me also influencers were like one more, allowing 3-4 people.
Correct.
It was never a mainstay at the back then. Also, your brand values to the, the influencer
They were not
value
matching.
and matching and all that was not the thought because I think and Facebook was the game. That time Instagram was not even as big. YouTube also, we were figuring it out. So yes, I think everybody was discovering in their own
it was
way.
A very nascent stage.
It was a very nascent stage. But I think it's a good catch that you found. One thing that I want to do probe on, because you made a statement that kids should not go to their parents to ask for,
that's true.
for
advice, career advice.
Career advice. And you have so what have you done? Because you were an engineer moving into some, consulting job and suddenly you were starting, which I'm sure your parents did understand or no?
No, so I mean, traditionally, what someone would think is, okay, you come from a Gujarati family, so if you want to start a business, I'm sure your parents were being supportive of that. What happened is we were also going as a family, going through a really rough patch financially back in the time. Thankfully, I have an elder brother who was taking care of the household expenses back then, and he really gave me the power to take a risk. If not for him, I would not, I mean, this company would not have
Yeah.
existed. So he told me that, you know what, take 6 months, do your thing, give this a shot, because I was really I had a lot of conviction that this will work. For some reason, I had just blind conviction that, man, I will make this work. One of my driving factors was because I didn't want to go to the US or do an MBA and give CAT. So my motivating factor was, okay, I have nothing to fall back on, so I just have to make this work. So that is what.
You've nothing to lose also, because for you from that point,
Truly, yeah, there was nothing to
Yeah.
lose. I was just starting off. I
Yeah.
could have just then gone on to
On
do
to
another
a-
consulting job,
Correct.
right? So that's what I told him, that the downside is not much right now, because I mean, I was making 22,000 rupees a month in my salary in consulting, right? So there was not much to lose.
Correct.
And he said, yeah, don't worry, I'll look after the family, you do your thing. And then that's what gave me the wings to actually
Yes.
fly. My mom was totally against this. My bosses at my consulting firm, when I left the company in 4 months, and I told them I'm leaving because I'm going to do something in YouTube, naturally, and they were very nice people, they were concerned and they were like, dude, are you sure, like, you've got a job in a decent place?
Correct.
Do you want to let it go for something in YouTube? Like, that seems like a bit of a stretch. And it paid off, touch wood. So I feel like,
You were at the right place at the right time.
that really was the case. You know,
Yeah.
when people ask me this question, I'm like, man, honestly, we just rode a wave.
Yeah.
And it was too much luck. Like, it was too much luck because we were one of the first movers in the industry. And what happened is there was also COVID within 2 years of it. So we
Right.
started in 2017, 18 roughly. COVID really changed the fortunes of this industry.
Right.
Because what happened is, when everyone's sitting at home,
Yeah, they were consuming a lot of content.
everyone was consuming content,
Yeah.
and brands, after the lockdown was slightly lifted, brands were like, people are buying stuff now
Yes.
for their homes, so we need to market ourselves. We can't afford big production budgets now, or we can't even do a setup because it was COVID. We can't hire actors, we can't hire models, we can't hire full-blown agencies to do production setup. So how do we market ourselves? And that's when everyone doubled down on influencer marketing.
Right.
They're like, we just need to send our product to their houses and then they will take care of the rest. So that's what led to a big boom of the industry. And I think if COVID would not have happened, we would still be 2 to 3 years behind in terms of where the industry is now.
So this kind of impetus or this kind of boom that you guys got during COVID,
Yeah.
one of the very few industries, because a lot
Benefited from
benefited
it.
from it. But so where did the germ so this whole monk entertainment,
Yeah.
what was the idea and the vision back then?
Honestly, there was no vision. The simple.
So it was only you managing Ranveer, and that was the
Yeah, it was that. That's
the
it.
whole
So I was
agent
like, you
and,
know what, cool. And Ranveer was not involved in the business because he was focused on. It's a very
Content.
it's a very draining journey. Like, you must know now, having a day job and also doing content is just very, very difficult,
It
right?
is.
So I told him, don't worry about this. You focus on your content.
But he also had a day job.
No.
He was full
I
time.
told him, don't get involved in the business because you're
okay.
also shooting so often, right?
Correct,
And then you're shooting for YouTube and Instagram and whatnot. LinkedIn also he was trying to run.
So that time, Monk Entertainment was just getting brands and monetizing
Yeah.
Ranveer.
Yeah,
right?
that's
That is
it.
all.
That's
Okay,
it.
okay.
That's it. And that's when we realized that we should now expand into representing other influencers and YouTubers as well. So there was no idea. The idea was, let's just take it one day at a time and let's just survive every day, right? Because for like about 6 to 8 months, we didn't have a single employee because I didn't know how to hire. I didn't know how to reach out to people.
True.
I didn't know any of that. I have no formal training in actually running a business. So I was also just winging it. I was like basic, like I was playing with my Gujarati mind there, and I was saying, what is the basic of business? Unit economics should make sense, and input should be less than output, right? Input should be less than, I mean, input should be more than
More
output.
than
Sorry.
output.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, bad with maths.
Correct.
Yeah, that's it. Like we should be making more money than we're spending. That's all. That's what I followed. We didn't raise any funds because also we're a service business, so it was not capex heavy.
It wasn't.
So I
and
was.
You were capitalizing on Ranveer, on what he was
correct.
doing,
On the popularity of the creators that we were managing, and that's how it worked out. So I was like, okay, you know what? We'll scale slow, no worries. We have no investors to answer to, so we'll take it one day at a time, and then we'll see where this industry goes. Because to date, this industry is so dynamic that things are changing every 3 months. So you can't have a 5-year plan, 5-year vision,
That's
all
true.
of that.
Today you can't have for anything, given the whole AI and what is happening in the world.
It's so dynamic. So I was like, we just need to ensure that we keep bringing in money, and then we have a check on our expenses. So after about a year or so, we start bringing in more people to help me out. I was doing everything from sales, BD, managing clients, getting the execution of those deals done, invoicing, accounting.
Wow. This is a whole new space where there's no pricing benchmark.
Correct.
There's no service benchmark. It's not like, I mean, where do you go and look for?
Correct.
So who are your initial, when you were expanding, who are the initial guys that you, and are they still with you, initial YouTubers?
So actually the first creator that we signed outside of Ranveer was Niharika NM. She is still one of the most popular creators. She's now venturing into movies. Pan India, very big in South. She speaks like 6 or 7 languages.
And you still are the talent.
We're still representing her, and we're still doing all her deals. It's been 8 years now. So I have basically seen her grow up. She's seen me grow up. And she also basically put faith into me when she could have gone to someone bigger at that point. But it's like sometimes it compounds and things come back onto you. So that's what really helped. A lot of these relationships that showed faith in. I was only 22. Showing faith in a 22-year-old. And these guys were all young themselves as well, right? They were like 19, 20, 21. For them to have been like, you know what, actually, let's just do this together. Why not? That really paid off. And now they're all doing big things, and they're all building. And they've all built so much, wealth, fame, recognition, impact for themselves. In what they do. There was who we were very heavy with YouTubers back in the day. So
did YouTube also then invest in you, because since you were managing YouTubers for?
So the surprising part is, because I was like, I have a baby face, and I was also so young then. Most organizations didn't take us seriously. Because it's like, and I don't blame them, because it's like, who's going to take like a 22, 23-year-old kid seriously? Yeah, you're trying to do something. Okay, sure. So in the initial days, there were also these mega corporations that were representing YouTubers and all of that. So we didn't get as much of a say back in the day. But as we built trust within the ecosystem for ourselves, now we work so actively with platforms like YouTube, Meta, LinkedIn, Snapchat. They deeply trust and value what we do, and we run a lot of extensive programs for these companies as well. Programs that they want to first test out in the Indian market, things like that.
Lovely. So where I hear you, Viraj, is you focused on creators. You focused on building trust with them. You focused on giving them the wings that they can, and sort of it was your mutual network that you were creating. And then came the brands in your life, right?
Absolutely. That's how we open up brands also. And then what we realized is that, we can channel both parties really well over here. So we have 2 separate teams now. One is a team that focuses on talent representation. they don't speak to brands.
Okay.
They, because they are speaking on the behalf of the talent. And then we have our sales division, which represents the brands, and they don't represent any kind of talent. So they are focused on giving the best benefit
To
to
the
the brands,
brands.
ensuring that they take down the creative mandate really well. They get the best kind of costs. They ensure deliveries are done well, execution is on
So they
point, things
behave
like
like
that.
any media buying agency
Correct.
who is
They're a
really
media
working
buying
with the
agency, and
brand.
the inventory you're buying here is
Yeah.
basically a space on a creator's Instagram or YouTube.
Very
Um,
interesting business.
yeah.
So how many, what is the size now that you, the what kind of, it's because it is very creator dependent.
Yeah.
So the more you have, the more you can get from the brands. Is how your business?
We're not as creator dependent anymore. But I think both ecosystems feed off of each other. The more creators we have, the more openings we get generally with brand conversations. But we're going to brands purely from a POV that now we have a separate servicing team, we have a creative team, and we have an account management team that will take you through step by step along this process. So we're not just working with the 130, 40 influencers that we represent, but we're working with like the 5 million creators that exist in all of India. So it doesn't matter who we have on our roster to you.
Okay.
Our team, because we're going to think creative first and servicing first, we will bring you the people that are relevant to you and match your ethos from all over India. And now we work with some really cool brands, and they've entrusted us with their mandates. And to be at that scale now was unimaginable, maybe even 3 years ago.
So you pivoted, right? That's my
pivoted big
next.
time.
Your pivoted is where I'm very keen, because this is what I want all the founders. Because you started as really managing a talent
Yeah.
to really then becoming a talent for multiple, to now literally becoming a brand first.
Yeah.
Because you are now like a full service agency for the influencer.
Yeah,
so to say, right? Because everybody you are not managing.
We're not managing everybody.
Yeah.
No.
So today, if you want me to come, you're not managing me, but you will get. So that's your model is
correct.
What
Yeah, because that's how we can operate at scale. Because the more creators we bring on, the more I need to expand my team also.
Where did that pivot idea come from? Because there's always that moment. Was it in the opportunity, or did some brand come and tell you, or what was that time?
I think it was just scale from a POV that we want to have the right kind of creators on. So make a very curated sort of list of who we represent, because also creator motivations dip really quickly. Especially in this industry. So we wanted to partner with people that were willing to put in their good 5 to 7 years into the game, and like do it very actively and put their whole heart into it. And what we realized also is that when we are partnering with brands, we don't like, I didn't like that we had the image that we are the people that say no to everything that the brand wants.
Is that how you all started?
Yeah, that's because that's how it started, right?
The arrogance took over.
And it's like, as a young kid you like that. Yeah, it's power that
It's the arrogance.
Yeah, it's the arrogance. You say some brand manager or like the founder of a startup is coming to you and is telling you that, hey, we want to work with your talent. And then you're like, what? No, they will only work for like 1 lakh rupees, and they will not work for 99,999 also. So it's like there is a kick in that. But then I realized that if I want to build true enterprise value, I can't be giving into these kind of whims, and I need to build value that tomorrow, if I want to be running a company that outlasts me also, can I tomorrow have a CEO and the business not get disrupted because I have moved out of the ecosystem? Which is where we realize enterprise relationships really matter a lot as well. So that's how we start building those actively. So now we work with a ton of conglomerates. We work with a lot of startups now. And it's also fun. You get a big variety of problems that you need to solve, right? And as as someone growing up, I've always wanted to have that creative knack of wanting to do things and not just be an agent
Be an
and
agent,
be a middleman. So that's how I am able to, cure for that gap that I have in my mind. So I realized that we want to be a creative first company also, and a content first company. We don't want to be just agents.
Talent agents. But tell me, so now let's focus more. I'm going to double down on your talent side of things first. And since you've done, and that's what you started off well, what kind of, the talent also comes with own demands, like you said.
Of course.
So today, when a talent comes to you, or even back then, how were you looking at it? Because somebody would say, is it a niche that they should be looking first, or the audience first is what they have to start with? Or how does one start with?
I think, when we sign on creators
or it's
now,
platform also, because some people just want to be a YouTuber and all, I don't know.
Yeah, platform plays a big role. Early on in 2017-18, Instagram didn't exist, so we were betting big on YouTubers. Now it's sort of flipped. Now people that are big on Instagram is who we sign very actively, but YouTube is also making a comeback now. So you have to change with times. But also, of course, the niche matters a lot. What kind of categories you're catering to, because both the talent and us are looking to ensure that we monetize their brand really fast,
Right.
and in a sustainable way. And the categories that work really well, Darshna, tech, beauty, lifestyle, finance, and fashion. These work a lot because, again, just pure. You just need to reverse engineer to see where marketing spends happen the most, and this is where marketing spends happen the most. Like beauty brands, L'Oreal, Unilever are one of the biggest spenders.
Right.
You have finance brands. There's so much spend happening across finance brands, because you also
finance is still, if you ask me, still creating awareness or creating. But beauty is where, because you also have commerce attached to it.
Correct.
Right? So there's a straight, it's a straight deal. You can now straight go and buy. I think that's the game changer, the whole
absolutely
social commerce that has come with
beauty is big now. Affiliates are picking up a lot. And tech is also really big. So all your mobile phone brands or your tech brands, laptop brands, they get a lot of direct sales from working with these said influencers. I know the numbers that someone like Technical Guruji did back in the day when there was less clutter in the market was just mind-bending stuff. The amount of sales you could make by running one contest or making one giveaway video on YouTube was incredible. The ROI on that was very, very real.
So can we double down on that? Because if today somebody who has, what is the kind of base they need to have, whether it's beauty or technology, and when they come to Monk Entertainment for you to manage, and what is the kind of money or the ROI they can make? Like, what do the numbers look like?
Okay, if you're digging deep into numbers, you can say this was
just for somebody who's listening, and if they want to, or they already have some base, or if they come to you.
No, of course, I'm happy to speak about this. I've spoken about this previously as well, that if you are someone who's starting off in the beauty category, right? If you have about 100K average views consistently, not where you make like 20K views and then 500K views on the next reel. It can't be that fluctuating. If you have 100 to 200K average views, your followers don't really matter as much on a platform like Instagram, but let's assume you have 100K followers. You can charge about like 50,000 to a lakh for a single reel. For a brand deal that you do with any of these big companies or even Indian startups. Similarly with tech is also high paying. You can look at a similar number even in that space. So
it's 100K, which gives you 100K per reel.
Correct. It's like your cost per view is between 0.5 to 1. So if you get 100K views, you can charge between 50,000 to
1 lakh.
Or to 1 lakh roughly. So
that's the kind of math.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I mean, this is serious money.
It is serious money. But this is where I think a lot of them get lost, right? So what happens is, I see a lot of, and as a marketer, I can tell that they start with something and then they keep pivoting and changing. So do you manage talent who are, so which talent do you take? Are they very clear from day one? Or do you guys play a role in nurturing them, advising them to find their niche? find their platform, find their customer? How does it work?
So the first thing that we look for is that the creator has one, they write things on their own. They should not have a script writer doing stuff for them. Two is they are content first. Like they understand various things, like how a platform works. Like they understand what kind of angles to use, what kind of hooks to use, what kind of storytelling to do, what kind of genres to delve in. They're really good with the camera themselves, because that makes us understand that we can then deeply invest in their business side of things, while they focus and they are freed up of doing any of those chores. They can focus on doubling down on their content. So what they are really good with is the camera, their speaking skills, their storytelling skills, and their direction. So that's more than
So that clarity they have to come with.
Yeah, they have to come with that clarity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
so you
then,
are really the business manager side of things.
Absolutely. And then we help them understand that, hey, you know what? These are the things that will get you approved by brand managers or brand owners, because they're looking for ABC things.
Right.
So then we tweak their storytelling basis, how they could get more brand friendly. Also, there are many creators that like don't give a crap about what a brand thinks. So, and that's what gives them the quick reach, and that's what gives them the virality, and that's what helps them build a connect with their audience, because the audience feels like, wow, this guy really has nothing to sell to me. So they are able to develop like very deep bonds and have extreme levels of loyalty with their audiences.
Do you manage that kind of content? Because then what do you have to offer?
Yeah, correct.
If
So I
somebody's
mean,
so brand averse and clearly a content king.
so what happens is some of these creators are really good to have impact. So what works is, tomorrow if you launch a product with them,
Okay.
they're able to really monetize that very
Give me some names in that space that you guys manage.
So for example, I mean, or they could already be doing a day job actively, where they don't really care about the money. So we manage the ace photographer Joseph Radhik, who's basically covered every popular wedding that you've seen in India: Virat, Anushka, Vicky, Katrina, the Ambani wedding, all of that. So he's very focused on not diluting his brand value, and does very specific brand deals only, because he already has a primary business. He does not fall back on to create a revenue for things. With him also, he's already a photographer, knows how to tell stories really well. So we didn't have to delve deep into the content side of things with him. What we had to just tell him is, hey, why don't you do ABC types of content also, so that we can pitch this to a brand and get you some more business.
Interesting.
So that's some things that started to happen. A lot of YouTubers that don't have an Instagram first presence are also not very monetizable, but their YouTube revenue helps them make very good amounts of money. So you take any of the top
YouTube
vloggers.
is now up the game back. They want to be back in this whole game of
Correct.
managing the creators, right?
Correct. Yeah. So they've also now introduced YouTube Shopping, which is their affiliate model. So I see creators that have strong loyalty make a hell of a lot of money by just doing reviews, and by just truly recommending and being honest with their reviews.
Amazing. And Viraj, tell me, so there was a time where, and you spoke about COVID, right? There was a time when the celebrities now found it necessarily to also have their whole Instagram or YouTube, because brands were not going to take them on their for endorsing if they don't have. Do you manage celebrities also?
We don't manage celebrities, but we do a lot of work with celebrities. Like Farah Khan, we do a ton of work with, and she's become a brand favorite across all categories, because she's cracked the code of what people want to watch on YouTube.
Yeah, with her cook that she's doing.
Yeah, with her cook, Dilip. And I think a lot of the credit, of course, goes to the fact that she's been a director. So she understands what the audience gets hooked by. So what she has really figured is, food is what captures a big audience. But also what she does is involve celebrities And
Right.
Bollywood
She
is
has
also
access to
equally
that.
big. So access is really important.
Yeah.
And number 3 is she's showing these people's homes.
Yes.
So you're also doing your architectural digest kind of a vibe within the same videos. So now you're seeing these fancy homes. You're seeing what these people like to eat and what they like to cook, and you're also just bringing in a lot of celebrities. Plus, you're adding her classic Farah Khan comedy and punches.
Right.
So there's like 4. These are 4 different YouTube channels, just by the way, that she's incorporated into one, and you can see it's just mass content, mass virality.
So you guys are helping them with brands?
Yeah, we work a lot with her across brands, and she's just been super. She brings in real value to the brands. There's like, imagine like someone was telling me that she has a deal with Vim. What she's doing is she's getting all these celebrities to clean utensils with Vim. This is crazy amounts of earned media for that brand, which they would have to pay like crores for just getting those celebrities to use their product.
Yeah. And the eyeballs that celebrities are washing khud ka bartan, that must be another
That
high.
is next level. So I mean that's a deal that has struck gold for both parties involved, the brand and for Farah. I'm just excited to even see that. That's interesting. But tell me one more thing, that when you were talking on trends, creators today who are only focused on chasing trends, vis-a-vis really building their whole profile or their persona or what they stand for. What is your view there? So my view is clear that don't chase trends. Of course, I've been saying that on my profile for the longest time. Build your niche. Like, your niche can have 2 or 3 wide categories, but then you need to really be known for something very specific. Like, when I go to a certain person's profile, I should know in one word what they define for me, right? So when you look at Samay Raina, it's comedy, it's edgy comedy. When you look at Sarthak Ahuja, this guy's going to give me news and he's going to speak in polished English, and I can trust him.
Yeah, he'll break it down in my language, though. He really deconstructs what the policies are.
He simplifies it for the larger audience.
Are you managing Sarthak?
No, we're not managing Sarthak. But again, like, even people like these, like you look at someone like Your Food Lab, he runs. So this is a creator we manage. He's a chef, and he runs a wildly popular food channel. He has like 5 million subscribers on each platform, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And you go to his page if you want to see really beautifully shot food videos with the simplest recipes. So what I ask most young creators to define is, what is that one word USP that you're going to be known for? Because there is a big clutter of creators out there, right? So you need to be more than just that. You need to be something that
your unique voice and identity is.
That's all you have as a creator. Your unique voice will define you. So just embrace it instead of falling in the garb of just following trends and getting a few fringe followers here and there.
But also another thing which I related to what you said is because we all talk about relatability, but what does it mean? Vis-a-vis authenticity. Because the reason I started the Darshana show also, for me, that being authentic is real. What you have done at your age, being young but pivoting, learning, showing resilience is real vis-a-vis the real life which you keep scrolling and expecting world to be in a 10 minutes commerce and everything is instant gratification. That's not life. And to me, I see that in career. When I see people, the Gen Z is walking in, they think life is like, I know it all, 6 months and now I want to leave. Maybe. So I feel that this is exactly what the relatability vis-a-vis authenticity. So tell me more on that, because I was just seeing that on your channel.
I feel like,
I like the word which you said, that, a geek is more authentic than, you give more space to geeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like, when you are being authentic, people that find you relatable will join your tribe.
Right.
So don't try hard to be relatable. In today's times, Darshana, every Tom, Dick and Harry has this story of, we grew up as a middle class family. We didn't have many resources. And I'm like, Dude, like you used to literally be taken around to your school in like luxury cars. Like, why are you saying this? And what's funny is that you know, people can discover this. Your life is on the internet now. You can search this stuff easily, and
Right.
you know, you will be slaughtered on platforms like Reddit and Twitter. So, like, which is why I feel like this whole era of creators like Ori have come to the fore, because everyone was going under this whole relatability.
Oh, I loved Ori for
Yeah,
what he is.
because
Yeah.
he's just like, man, you know what? I'm rich, I'm wealthy, and I am extremely well connected, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm
Correct.
going to own it. Honestly, that's something I feel like Aryan Khan did with Bads of Bollywood also. Instead of falling in the garb of, oh, nepotism and like all of that, he's like, yeah, okay, I am a nepo
Absolutely.
baby. My dad is the king of Bollywood. Now, I will show you my power by bringing in every person from Bollywood and getting them to do a cameo. So, like,
Why not? Yeah.
he used it right,
Yeah,
and
yes.
people loved it.
Yes.
It brought in so much nostalgia and whatnot. So, my point is, you don't, and this is them being their authentic selves. Like Ori and Aryan are being their authentic selves. They're not being like, hey, we need to be relatable. So if we need to be relatable to millions of people, we need to
Be
act
like
like we are
masses, yeah.
like we don't have the resources or we are not privileged.
Correct.
That just never flies.
I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. So talk to me about regional content creators now, because there's a lot of demand. As a marketer, I've seen that people don't, it was always there that you don't speak my language. You end up writing everything in English in India, and especially South. Then came this a lot of regional creators who today are demanding, because we sitting here are still looking at all those national and more Hindi speaking.
Correct.
But a lot of small, are shooting up in South, whether you go in Orissa, Bengal and all of that. So what has been your experience, and how do you really give them the wings the way the other guys get?
So
Do you guys, first of all, manage?
yeah, of course. We manage a lot of regional influencers. We have one of the biggest creators in Malayalam signed up to us. One of the biggest creators in Tamil signed up to us. We have this very popular creator called Bihari Ladka, who makes very wholesome reels with his grandmother, who we represent. So we work with a lot of creators in the South and across regions. You know, Darshan, actually, which is the biggest YouTube channel in India?
No, which is it?
So it's
Marathi.
most people think it's Carrie Minati or you know, other people, but the biggest YouTube channel in India is this channel called KL Bro Biju, and that guy has 60 million subscribers.
Wow.
And he was the only guy who was given I think the diamond play button by Neil Mohan, who's the CEO of YouTube. This is a Malayalam channel. And all they do is make these really short, muted YouTube shorts about life. That guy has a wife and he has kids. They just make family shorts on YouTube, and they have 60 million subscribers.
Wow.
I didn't even know that there were that many, that 60 million Malayalis were on the internet.
So it must be global.
Yeah, it's global. So it's all people from the Gulf, from various regions where Malayalis have settled. They're all watching his content.
But that always brings me, because there is certain kind of content which I'm not the audience, and I know my
Correct.
team brings in and all this, where all
Correct.
this family thing is happening. So then where do the, your creators who bring in a little more intelligent
Yeah.
conversation?
Yeah.
And because that becomes very niche, is there a place for them?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about creators that are talking about education, infotainment, speaking in languages that are not as widely spoken. You could even take English as an example in that. It's not as widely spoken in India. Their USP becomes that they cater to the creme de la creme of India. And that is a space where whatever brand is building, they are happy to pay a premium to those creators, because there are very few creators that actually do it really well. So what happens when a brand like Cred or a brand like Whole Truth Foods or Super You, for example, come in? They only want to target this audience because, like, Whole Truth Foods is like, I guess the whey protein is 2,500, 3,000 rupees.
Correct.
Cred is they only want 1% of 1% of India. So for brands like these, they're not going to go regional so early. They're
Okay.
going to want to work with creators that are speaking sense, that are trying to attract the creme de la creme.
So now, where do you see the balance shift in the creators? Do you see more regional first happening, or it is still the national large face, big faces like you mentioned, and then the regional? Is there a shift?
No, there's both. Both are growing equally. The thing is, regional creators have realized that monetization is now coming onto for them also. Like I mentioned, Bihari Ladka, we did a video for Wheel detergent. That video is at 150 million views organically on YouTube Shorts, and it's like it blew the mind of the whole Unilever ecosystem.
Talk to me about monetization. So, for a creator, how long does it take to really monetize on your content? Is there some standard formula that you need so much followers or so much engagement? You start monetizing, or is it different for different niche? How does it work?
So yeah, it's very different for different niches. Also depends what platforms you are on, what your scale is, what genre you are in. Because I know creators that have like 5 million subscribers and followers, and they still barely even make any kind of branded
Oh.
content money. Which is
So
why you
what,
need
what
to.
is the tipping point? What do they need it right then?
I know creators now that even at 15 to 20,000 followers make good money because they're able to speak to a very targeted audience. So when you do that, you're able to attract the brands working within that specific segment or niche. And I know creators that are at 5 million that are just doing your TikTok based videos, slow motion videos, acting videos that have no real niche or connect with their community, and they don't get paid anything. Brands don't approach them.
So then tell me, what is it now coming on the brand side of things that you are
Yeah.
doing? What are brands really looking for in creators, and what do they have to get it right to be able to monetize themselves?
Brands firstly are looking for creators that don't throw a tantrum or don't throw a fit. They're looking
Because
for creators.
creators are not celebrities, so
Yeah.
they have to
No,
behave.
but the thing is that in every famous person's mind, there is a certain kind of God complex that develops, which I mean you cannot eliminate. Of course, there are exceptions to the norm. So that happens, but what happens is creators are actually demanding bigger price points and celebrities because they're able to deliver far better ROI than certain celebrities as well.
True, I agree.
Barring the category A celebrities
celebrities,
that bring
yeah.
in your real depth for your audiences, they're able to charge higher than your category B celebrities as well. And brands are willing to pay them because while creators still have tantrums, they don't have celebrity level
Yeah,
tantrums,
yeah.
which is having big entourage teams and not being cooperative, etc., things like that. Also, creators are far more collaborative in the process of working with a brand, so that comes in as well. So what was your question?
What are the brands looking in the creators then?
What brands are looking for is now they want to go deep. Everyone has done spray and pray methods, and it's probably not working. So if you are a finance brand, is there someone who is speaking to your audience? Because also when you're a finance brand, you're selling like 10 different kinds of products, right?
Right.
You're selling term insurance to maybe people that are upwards of 30. You're selling loans to someone that really needs it. You're selling mutual funds to a different kind of audience and region. So who is my target audience that that I need as a brand? I want to go deep down and only work with those kind of people, because in finance you have multiple categories. There's someone who's doing regional kind of finance content. There's someone who's doing aspirational kind of finance content. So who are they appealing to? My take would be that going to someone like Sarthak Ahuja to promote 5 lakh rupee loans may not be the best initiative, right? You could go rather to an influencer that is doing regional content and is looking to go deep into that specific area. But with someone like Sarthak, I would definitely promote an app that's promoting US stocks. Because hey, I'm trying to be aspirational and I'm trying to attract that kind of an audience. So that really matters. That what is your like you mentioned, that fit, that match of the influencer and the brand really needs to happen.
So they're looking at someone who really has the right target audience and the content that they're building. It has to be
Absolutely.
talking to them. So, and I know the values that they bring together.
Absolutely.
Today, brands are very, very conscious, as opposed to, you rightly said, the spray and pray time is over.
It's gone, yeah.
Yep. Now, coming to, what are the mistakes then you see the creators making when they are
Sure.
trying to approach brands? So in this bargain,
I think one key mistake I'm realizing recently that the creators are making, especially veteran creators, are that they feel that their value should only linearly grow with time because they're more experienced, etc. Unfortunately, that does not translate in a space like this, because your value will always be judged basis the kind of uniqueness you bring, how replaceable are you or are you not, and the kind of viewership you bring to branded content videos.
okay.
So if you are only generating 100K views while being a 3 million account, yes, you could have charged a significant amount earlier. That does not mean you can charge the same now, because you are replaceable. There are
Are they
dime a dozen
replaceable
creators.
faster now today?
Yeah, there's like a
So
lot
you're
of
saying the
competition.
immediate engagement is more important. It doesn't matter what over the years, whatever following you have is okay.
It only matters when you are completely irreplaceable in that category. That's when you can demand your price and you can set the ceiling, right? So if you are, say, for example, a cricket expert who is a cricketer himself, there will be very few specimens you will find of a creator who is very active on doing content, communicates and speaks well, and has also played cricket for India.
Fair.
In that case, you can really set the ceiling for whatever.
Because that's the genre you own, that's the expert you
Correct.
are.
And they will not find a replacement and they will pay your price, right? But if you are a beauty creator that is doing get ready with me reels and you're not able to deliver views, unfortunately, this is a crowded segment and there are like 50 other options that are available as well. But if you're a beauty creator who speaks Malayalam, Tamil, Kannada, Hindi, and English, and has can speak to all of these audiences, and you're the only one that does a certain kind of smoky eyeshadow makeup the best in the market, for example, then you can again set your ceiling.
Because you're multilingual, and so it's the economy of scale. Who decides? See, because when I see at the brand side as a marketer, because we get a list.
Correct.
And, I mean, the team goes, they check, but we are not really all the time onto it. So there is definitely somebody in between who is making the decision, which is the agency, whether I should take A or B.
Correct.
Right? They've already done that shortlisting. Now, how where I'm coming from is that it's in a media side. Let's say when I'm doing the planning, I have the publication rates, I have the GRPs, there is a transparency.
Yeah.
Who does this over here? Because there are so many creators that I don't know how much can brand themselves. I mean, some who are popular is fine. This is a very different way of working. Do you see brands themselves deciding that, okay, Viraj, give me this 5 from South, this 5 from North and whatever? Yeah. Or you guys sieve and give?
It's a mix of both. Some brands that are completely immersed into the ecosystem would like to believe that, hey, you know what, I want to work with these 5 creators. Let's only lock these 5 creators. We don't want suggestions. We'll be like, okay, cool, you made up your mind. In most cases, though, it's not that case, where it's usually the cases that the brand will come in and say, hey, this is our brief, this is who we want to target. Can you recommend who would be the right people for us? Because you guys are more tapped into the market than we are. So that's what usually happens.
Because when you see this whole thing becoming so complex, now I'm coming to you as a leader in your organization.
Yeah.
How are you seeing, what is Viraj as a leader now? What are your leadership strengths and qualities?
See, I mean, 8
years. You sound very young. You've not really worked that much. Nobody, unless there is a mentor that you go to, who's honing you, who's directing you.
Oh, I do have a few mentors now, but like for the longest time, I didn't have any. So I was just like, I learned through making mistakes, a lot of them, like the most outrageous mistakes.
So talk about some that you have, and has it helped or in the hindsight?
Like early on, when you're a young founder, your thing is, hey, I want to be really innovative with how I look after the people in my company. I don't want them to feel like short of anything. I will throw the biggest parties, and I will not care about like leave policies, like nothing. But as you scale, you realize that HR is one of the biggest core functions
Yeah.
that you need to have in your company. So as a leader now, I would like to believe that firstly, super evolving process all times. I'm learning two new things about myself every day. Um, but I have become much calmer in adverse situations. My first reaction is not to react when someone comes up to me with something. Um, I don't make a quick judgment, or I don't respond, or don't jump in with a solution really quickly. I just hear them out. And then if there's two parties to that conversation, I also hear the other party out, and then just make them sit together and chalk it out together while I'm in the room. Instead of me giving two tips to each one of them and me trying to be the mediator in that whole conversation, I feel like, most CEOs uh, like to operate like that, but also we have many people that like to really micromanage. When I have a certain department in my team that's really trying to grow, I like to have more control over it because I like to quality check a lot over there. But then my general style of working is I like to operate from a place of trust. If
Nice.
I'm operating from that place of trust, just ensure that you're not breaking it, because then we will have to get into you giving me constant updates and reports, the HR putting you on a PIP, all of that crap. I just don't believe works in the long run of people that um, can take an organization forward. So we've like one other thing that has changed in me as a leader is I really double down on hiring. I was not as involved in the hiring process earlier.
Okay.
Now I personally interview candidates that I know are going to be 1 or 2 degrees of separation from me in the organization, because they can make or break the company.
Absolutely.
So people that can be very, very self-motivated, are hungry, want to actually do things in life. And like, we hire a lot of like 23, 24, 25 year
Right.
olds.
Very young talent.
So yeah, very, very young
How do you
talent.
manage them?
It's actually not as difficult to manage Gen Z talent as generally propagated in the media or by people out on the internet. I think what they only expect is clarity. Yes, they do not want to work overtime. Good thing they're setting boundaries. But if you give them certain targets, I think they really chase them down. Of course, it depends person to person, but I've known to realize that it's easier to work with young talent that is genuinely very hungry to make a dent in this world. And that's the
I
kind of
agree.
people we're actively trying to hire.
That's what you're
Like I've told my HR team strictly that, if in the first go, if I'm taking the interview, or if someone else is taking the interview and they don't have an instant yes, don't hire that person. Because we need to be instantly sure that, okay, this person will 100% work, that we like the energy. Of course we will make some mistakes. 2 out of those 10 candidates will not work out, but hey, we're at least trying to place our bets on the right kind of people.
So intuitively, you feel that they have
Very intuitively, and our questions in our interviews have started becoming like those. We also want well-rounded individuals, people that have hobbies, people that have interests, people that also keep a track of what happens in the world. Because in an organization like ours, it's really important to be well-rounded. Tomorrow you're going to be speaking to the founder of a health tech company. The next day you're going to speak to the CM of a big FMCG company. The third day you're going to speak to a financial services company. You should be tuned in and tapped into what is happening in the world. Can you? And everyone thinks this small talk is so bad. We don't like to do small talk. Especially the Gen Z thinks that, because for some reason they think they're really good with like deep conversations. I think small talk is one of the most underrated skills you can have while working in corporate, because you need to be able to greet people. You need to be able to ask people what's happening in their life, are they doing well, etc., and then get to also what it is that there needs to be some kind of rapport building that needs to happen, right?
Warming up, absolutely.
Warming up needs to happen. You need to break the ice, otherwise it's like it can come off as arrogance. So I think being able to do small talk is really important, and also being able to not beat around the bush and get to the point is also really important. But you start with small talk and then you end with being clear on what the call to actions of this meeting
was, right? Talk to me about brand chasing matrix. What kind of matrix do they chase, and what do you all like? How do you manage delivering that?
So I think this is something that I started doing very actively in the last year when I started getting involved in doing a lot more of the business development myself, and that's my biggest kick, by the way. I love doing business development, and of course I feel like all founders should be deeply involved in bringing in more business. I started asking brands this question: that wait, what metrics are you looking at? Because with regards to content production, influencer marketing, these metrics need to be defined, or else after this project is done, it will get easy for you to pinpoint and be like, hey, this didn't work out. And we also don't want to shirk away from the responsibility. We want to deliver on things.
Right.
So what is the metric that you're looking from something like influencer marketing? And it started to get unique. There were certain brands that are of very, very high repute and prestige, and to them, and they're an omnipresent brand, right? So to them, the question was that we don't really care about cost per view or maximum viewership. We want our product to be placed in the hands of the right people that know how to tell stories and that resonate with our brand. FMCG brands that are selling in mass, their point of view was, okay, we just want to be cooler with the younger audiences, because these are vintage brands that have been going on since our grandparents' age. So they want to be able to build a connect with the younger audiences again, because there's many more challenger brands in those categories who are able to easily attract the attention of the younger crowds.
But how do you measure that? That the younger is people visiting the website or people buying finally?
People visiting website, you working with relevant influencers that speak to those kind of crowds. And then you measure it with, okay, what's the kind of viewership that was attracted? What's the kind of cost per view that was attracted on that reel? On many campaigns, we've also now started to measure our top of mind awareness, TOMA, brand lift, and these tools are now being provided by platforms like YouTube, for example.
Correct. But not about no brand is coming saying give me the last mile conversion sales, because in social commerce, right?
So it's difficult to get last mile commerce in influencer marketing, and that's something we make very clear to brands, because it will depend on a lot of factors. This is not performance where it can be defined well enough. There will be some uplift on conversion and sales also, though. A lot of brands now have started asking for Google search uptick, which is also interesting. So they're realizing that, if we are a fresh brand, what matters more to us is more than just conversion, is also are people searching for a brand more often, and then we will retarget them and get them to buy a product. So it's also
buying the product is still not the goal. It is still the top of the mind, search, reach. Of course, see, every brand manager and CMO is going to expect that there has to be conversion, because then why am I putting any kind of spends on it, right? I'd rather just put all my spends on performance marketing. But yeah, that expectation is getting ironed out far more, that, hey, I'm going to use influencers for my top of mind, especially the big mega cat A influencers. If I want conversions, I will go more niche. I will go to smaller influencers where my spend is not that big. And if my spend is not that big, there is a good chance that they can bring back my ROI, at least in terms of revenue recovered. Absolutely. At least that much is done. So now future gazing, Viraj, since you've been in this industry and it was just Ranveer, and now the works that you all are managing. And before I get to future gazing, I'm going to ask you a question, because what happens when you have a partner who has negative publicity? Right, in your case. Because you really got trolled. Does that start affecting? Because this is very true for or maybe a content creator that you're managing and that gets a negative. Does it then start impacting your own business?
It definitely has some impact, but because we're more a B2B business, we get insured of that impact still better as opposed to if we were a consumer first business. But yeah, I mean, having a popular face as a partner is always a double-edged sword. So it can get problematic sometimes. But again, like I feel like till we're delivering value in terms of what our propositions are and we're being clean enough in the way we run our business, um, it does not have a lasting enough
But
impact on
during
the
that
business.
period, did brands or
I
people
mean,
moved
brands
off?
were a little iffy about those things, and I mean, they just had to be reassured that, hey, you know what? I mean, like, he may not be actively involved in the business or the operations of it. So if you've been working for so long, I don't see a reason why you should be pulling out. And yeah, I mean, that translated well over a period of time. But yeah, it gets difficult sometimes. But like I said, it's a double-edged sword, so you learn to deal
You
with
learn
it.
to deal.
Which is also something I keep telling people that come to us, or founders that are trying to build a personal brand. That's the talk of the town, right? Every founder wants to now build a personal brand, but
Yes.
it comes with its sides of cons as well, right? Like what happened to certain entrepreneurs, or like sharks that had a really public image, it instantly rubs off on your company. Or someone like Elon Musk, I mean, with a single tweet, you wipe out like a few billion dollars of value
Value.
from
Yeah.
the market. So it's a double-edged sword. You gotta live with it.
But good. So that's a good part of learning. So now future gazing, Viraj. Now when
Yeah.
you see these, a lot of creators are now also becoming product, or they're creating their own product. Do you see that as a trend? Like when Kusha Kapila did this Shapers as a brand, and one of this, who was that, the Curly Tails has a whole restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
So do you see more and more that being the trend or the aspiration, and where do you see this going?
Yeah, see, this has been going on for quite some time. I just feel that the one place where creators go wrong is that they don't find the right operator for the business. And that is the big challenge. Creators overestimate their influence and impact and reach, and underestimate the need of either a CEO or an operator who can run that business for them.
Right.
Because as a creator, they should definitely not be the CEO.
So they don't know the business side of things, and
Yeah.
also operating. You're saying.
Also, it gets really difficult. If you're a creator, you're not going to be able to run a business. You're
True.
not going to be able to prioritize. So bring in a solid operator who understands. I think Kusha has done that really well. With the kind of people she's partnered up with, have deep impact in the business of fashion, in D2C.
Yes.
And that's how I feel like it's her brand is doing really well right now. And
Right.
also the way she marketed it was her being deeply invested into the brand. She didn't treat it like another brand deal. She was like, hey, you know what, I will decide the strategy of how this will sell.
Completely. Yes.
And that kind of depth of investment in terms of time and effort from a creator is generally what is missing in creator businesses. But I feel like you're still going to see some wins come out of this space soon enough.
And the clutter that it is, Viraj, do you see it 1 year, 2 year? I mean, we're not talking 5 years here, but, and with AI
Yeah.
come in, is because there's a lot of AI avatars also coming in,
Yeah.
a lot of content they can create. So where do you see this whole game going now?
I think, and I've said this, I keep saying this a lot, that as we get more infiltrated by AI avatars, we're going to have a much deeper need for human first content. And now I think people are already building a blind spot for AI specific avatars, because you can
Yes.
easily tell what is AI, what isn't AI. You want to have, and as more and more of these indoor shot camera facing pieces get popular, you're going to want to have more creators who are personality first creators, who are outdoors first creators, and the nature of creators like that. So you're going to want to see more, which is why this community building is going to double down more now, because you want to have offline interactions with your creators. And AI creators, or AI avatars will not be
Will
able to
not be
do
able
it. What will work is if you're a real person and if you're using um, AI to streamline your content journey, that could still work. But I feel even that will have a deadline.
So people will still want a human being, more authenticity, more
Yeah.
real, more unique. You
For
can
sure.
use AI more as an enabler and not really
Yeah,
as
use
a,
it as an enabler, use it to write your scripts, use it to
Yeah.
edit better, but
All of
don't completely streamroll into being an AI avatar.
And what about, so still this space is so saturated, but still you see a lot more. I think today everybody wants to be a creator. All
Yeah.
CXOs, you ask me. So how are you seeing this with so much of clutter? Where do you see this going?
I think we're a country of a billion plus people,
1.4
so
billion, yeah.
so there's always room for everyone. The pie is big enough till you are delivering value. I feel like more and more people will join your mission and purpose, and the screen
Provided you
times.
have a mission and purpose.
Yeah, you should have a mission and purpose. Like you should have an end goal with where, not end goal, at least like a driving purpose to why you're doing this, right? It can't just be fame. And this is something I keep talking about as well. If you're doing this for fame, well, there are other things you can do. Become an actor, or do 10 other things. If you're doing this for fame, it will not last that long because people will smell that. People will smell that you're only doing this for fame and not to add value. The way you add value can be different. It can either be through education or it can be through entertainment. So you could either be a comedy creator or could you also be a subject matter expert, right? You could be someone who deeply understands finance or gardening or painting. It could be anything. But that's how you will be able to build a brand of value. You will be able to become a creator of note. Otherwise, you'll just get lost. And this is the kind of industry where in a year or two, if you don't know what you're doing with your semi-popularity, you will feel very delusional. You will feel a lack of purpose. You will feel lost because your ego is going to feed the thought that you have thousands and lakhs of followers. But because you're not able to monetize them or you're not doing something that speaks true to your heart, you will not feel like yourself. And people really underestimate that thought. They feel like it's okay, I'll get over it, man. Till I'm getting money in my bank, I'll do whatever it takes. You will get bored of it after a point, and you will, and your audience will evidently see that. So understand what it is that you want to do with your content creation journey, and then go forward with it.
So with that, now we will go to more fun rapid fire sessions so that we just lighten the moment. So what does Viraj Sheth have that Viraj Ghelani does not have?
Maybe like a company, I guess. Also, Viraj Ghelani has far better like entertainment comedy skills than me. And he does far better Garba than I do. I, as a Gujarati, am ashamed that I cannot do Garba.
Oh
So
my
that's
God.
something I need to pick up.
Is that your plan?
Yeah.
The one brand collaboration you wish that Monk would have done?
Interesting. There are plenty, but I believe if we would have done a lot of the, actually don't have an answer to that.
Okay, as long as you're not getting my brand.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that.
Really, which means you're happy with all that you have.
Yeah.
Is that what you're? Okay.
Yeah.
A leadership mistake that taught you, and then you've learned from that. What success has not taught.
Don't be reactive. Be patient. Listen to people.
You were very reactive?
I was very reactive early on when I was like 25 or so. I would instantly jump to a conclusion. I would instantly jump to giving a solution. Avoid that. Hear all parties out, hear everyone out, and then take a decision.
What does Viraj do when he is on off?
So I have started playing a lot of paddle. I like to watch a lot of TV shows. I consume a lot of content.
It's still the content world.
Yeah, but I love consuming like a lot of shows on Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. And I sleep a lot. I like to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is the time for that? From what I hear, you're only consuming content and running a business.
I try to get my 8 hours of sleep on a daily
Nice. 8
basis.
hours is very good.
But yeah,
A ritual that keeps you grounded?
just not rushing through my mornings, taking it slow, and then starting off.
The most exciting part of working with the Gen Z creators?
They just open up your mind. They give you so many different perspectives. They teach you how to really use your camera without seeming like an old man. And
You're already feeling old.
yeah, the thing is, that's what I keep saying again, that someone who's a 22-year-old, I feel like there are 3 generations in between me. I'm 29 and a 22-year-old. Yes.
And I'm 49 and I'm
Yes.
feeling younger. Let me tell you that.
That's
I'm not
awesome.
feeling-
That's the content journey is making you making you feel younger.
And you're right. And meeting people like you.
Yeah, correct.
With, I agree with you. One book, podcast, or mentor that it's your go-to.
I listen to a lot of stuff from Tim Ferriss. I think he brings in some really cool guests.
Yeah.
I don't read a lot of books, honestly.
Because you're consuming a lot of content. So
yeah, I just don't have the time. And now that Chat GPT is here, I just tell Chat GPT, tell me key 5 learnings from this book, and that's about it. May not be the best habit, but well, that's what it is.
But do you have any mentor or coach that you go to?
So I have this friend who's a founder himself. His name is Ashish. He is like, through thick and thin, he's always there for me. And one of the most sound, smart, reliable guys that I know, through friendship, through mentorship, through everything. He's just one of the most solid people I know. And I deeply appreciate my friendship with him.
Amazing. And any compliment that your team member gave you that, is still with you?
So one of my team members actually recently told me that, it was our 8th year anniversary, and she told me that, take a moment and slow down today, because what you've built here with regards to culture and the team is really solid. So don't beat yourself up too much and just soak it in and
celebrate.
Just celebrate.
Amazing. And if you were not doing monk entertainment, would you be a monk yourself? What was your plan?
No, not at all. I am not the monk types at all. What I would be doing is I would be deeply sad and depressed in some far away city in the US, where I would be doing some kind of product management job. But I would be deeply unhappy.
You made it for all the guys and all your batchmates who are doing that.
No, I mean,
you've told them that it is such a bad idea.
I think they like doing it. It's just that was never my cup of tea. I was never meant to be an engineer, but it happened. And I'm glad it happened. But I could never have done a role in engineering or like product management or any of that.
Amazing, Virajan. Great conversation with you.
Thank you for having me, Darshana.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.